Hey everybody, this is Anthony.
Matt?
We got a new toy that's super fun. Please, Matt, explain to them what it is.
Well, ladies and germs, enter the Umarex T4E, the training for engagement, law enforcement, and military training rifle. It's lolzy.
So we got this here, T4E.
Swag blue.
Super swag blue. I actually love the blue. The
I
blue
do too.
the blue makes me smile. I wish there would have been more blue. I wish all of the plastic components would have been blue.
We might just paint it all blue.
We might paint this blue. But basically what this is a function-wise pretty close, like 1-to-1 almost, with an M4 rifle. The external build quality is excellent. It's super pretty.
Very solid.
The
feeling.
finish is nice. Everything externally on it just feels good. It feels like a lot of real AR-15s and M4s that I've gotten my hands on throughout my time on the planet here.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a CO2 powered rifle
12 grams.
that shoots 43 caliber projectiles. Now, these are the rubber ones. We didn't get any of the cool like chalk ones in because we just wanted to play around with it.
Mm-hmm.
These are 43 caliber rubber projectiles that weigh 1 gram.
So if you need it restated, this is not an airsoft rifle. It just happens to be made by one of our favorite companies. But yes.
Not an airsoft rifle. These things hurt. These things, basically what this rifle is meant for is this is a simunition simunition replacement training rifle for law enforcement. It's what it's originally meant for.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily locked down to only law enforcement sales. You can own this as a civilian.
Correct.
But to be fair, I don't know why you would own it because we're going to get into that. But basically, this is not something that is effective to use for like what we typically are talking about on this channel, which is like BB wars and stuff. This is not something that's very effective at that. But it's super sweet. Matt, do you want to talk about like how well it shoots and like how it functions and stuff?
If a lot of you guys know what simunitions or UTM are, it's basically taking a real firearm and either modding it or using special ammo that's much lower powered so you can actually use it as a training rifle to shoot other humans for reactive targets, basically. A lot of law enforcement use it for training. A lot of the military does, but it ends up being very expensive. For a lot of simunitions, you have to buy basically a modification kit to turn your basic rifle into a non-lethal weapon. Still painful as hell. You've been shot with sims. Not fun.
Yes, I have been shot in some soft
Bad
places.
So basically what Umarex was trying to do was they wanted to make a safer, much more cost-effective version, especially for law enforcement, because they don't always get funded the best.
Yeah, they have fixed budgets that they need to make stretch. So
that is what this guy is meant to replace. It is meant to be able to be used in close quarter training, room clearing, house clearing for law enforcement. It is also with like the paint and chalk dust rounds, and these rubber ones also meant for kind of like, riot control stuff for police in less lethal situations.
less than lethal options for law enforcement officers, which is I'm all a fan of because if people don't need to get shot.
Just put down for a few minutes usually solves a lot of problems.
Usually calms people down.
So basically this thing, because of what it shoots, it's such a large caliber, there's no such thing as hop-up in this. This is basically your bolt. It's kind of interesting because the system breaks apart backwards from what a real AR would. You basically pop the front pin then pull the upper off. Kind of more similar to your...
standard airsoft guns.
Yeah,
a lot of your airsoft guns.
But basically there's no hop up. So this system uses pure compression and power behind it to just pop the round out, which is cool for close quarter stuff. Anything from, immediate threat to about 30, 40 feet, you can generally hit with this, but past that, woo, they all over the place, and it's kind of fun.
It's kind of a crapshoot to kind of get out there and actually like hit stuff at a like reasonable distance, like what we're used to for airsoft guns, because airsoft guns have a hop up, puts backspin on your BB, puts the BB out in a pretty accurate compared to this, like a pretty accurate fashion. This, on the other hand, is just straight smooth bore, woo, just launches it out there. Now, one thing that is interesting about the way this gun functions is that since it's all mechanical, you can get it wet and, and all that stuff, it'll function fine. But since it's all mechanical, it does have some inconsistencies in its velocity.
For what we have done, we've only put maybe a couple hundred rounds through it. You can attest that to multiple things of the bolt and the mechanical systems not being worn in, the inconsistencies of CO2, maybe different weights of these rounds, all sorts of little things like that.
Yes.
But again, like we said, this was not meant to be a precision fake sniper rifle. It was meant for
close range
training,
pain compliance training. Like if you're doing like room clearing training and you get whacked with one of these, you got whacked. Like there's no, like, how in BB Wars where we talk about like, I didn't
feel those first
couple. But
if you
don't notice you got shot with this, like you're a liar. Like,
check some of the footage we put in on this one. Like, even if you have armor or plate carrier on, if you get hit and you don't feel it, you hear it.
Yeah. Dump it. There's some trust. You can literally...
Oh, this thing is loud, too.
It's violent and hilarious. Now, another thing that's also a budget awesome component to this is that the ammo is actually considered to be reusable as long as it's clean.
Yes, obviously the dust and paint rounds you can't because they explode, but the rubber rounds, we actually have shot a bunch of used rounds and it is fine.
You dust them, basically because they're soft, they compress when they hit targets and then bounce back just like a rubber ball.
Yep.
And as long as they're not dirt covered, you can pick them back up off the ground and reuse them, which is really good for law enforcement because, once again, if they need to stretch their training budgets, they can just sweep the floor.
Yeah, especially if they're in like a shoot house or something. We picked ours out of a dirt mound out back, cleaned them off, reloaded. It was fine. You couldn't tell the difference between fresh ammo and used ammo.
Yeah. It's definitely pretty cool.
With the gun, you get basically there are two models right now. You get your standard M4A1,
which is the one I prefer, to be honest with you.
And you also get a H&K 416 styled one, which I got to play with. That one is actually very awesome too. Really, the only difference, obviously, some markings, your rail, and
furniture.
Stock difference, furniture. Both systems use the same magazine. This is a 15 round. This is where you drop your CO2 in the bottom here. Once it punctures, it goes into a self-contained chamber, so you can remove the mag and reload it.
Yeah, it's a self-sealing system, so you can drop the mag and not have to worry about purging the air like you would with, like, say, like a Tippmann, which is something you guys are familiar with.
Yep.
It doesn't dump the air, so this functions more like a
gas
blowback magazine, kind of like a GHK CO2 mag or something like that. Like it's self-contained, so when you drop the mag, you don't have to worry about like losing all of your CO2 out of it.
Yep,
which is good for stoppage drills and stuff like that.
On a good day, you can get on the high end of 4, but on average, you get about 3 full mags out of 1 12-gram CO2. Which, when you think about how much power this thing has to use to pump these 1-gram rounds out, it's quite a bit. So, especially for law enforcement, it's another thing is like law enforcement. If a police officer is going through multiple mags, there is something horribly wrong.
Yeah, there's something
so
very
usually
wrong.
1 mag is more than enough for what they need for, like, say, a room clearing. Hopefully not riot stuff, but, it's an option.
I would love these to start being used in CQB facilities. You want to talk about dudes just calling out.
Talk about realistic deaths.
Deaths. Oh, Jesus.
This dude's crumpling.
We have shot ourselves a bunch and hurt ourselves with these already. I have some lasting marks on me right now. They
leave very similar paintball welts.
From getting schwacked with these. What's really funny about it is due to its We chronoed it, and it chronos. It's so weird. It chronos really weird. It's got a very high spot, a very low spot, but it typically averages around 330 FPS with a 1 gram pellet. With a 1 gram
that
rubber
is with
ball.
The rubber pellets. We haven't done any testing with
any of the other
chalk ones yet.
So 330 FPS with a rubber ball that's 1 gram. You're looking at about somewhere around 5 joules worth of output. So when you get hit with this, like I was saying, when you get hit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know you got hit with something. You feel it. All right, so Matt, what can people expect to be paying for something like this?
Alrighty, guys. Like we said, there are going to be 2 models, and they are actually going to be available for civilian purchase. But again, like we said, there's limited use to this. So this standard guy right here is going to come in a retail about $600. The 416 variant, obviously because it is kind of trademarked, has some notes and stuff on it, is going to be $700.
With rails and stuff, yeah.
Correct. So, like we said, this is really meant for law enforcement military training.
But since it's an air gun, it's technically not liable under any of the standard firearms laws, so this is completely legal for you to own as well.
Yes, there's nothing you can do to this to make it a real firearm.
Exactly.
It is completely inert from doing that. It is closer to an airsoft gun than a real firearm, i.e. simunitions.
So, that means you can buy it. There's no laws against short-barreled rifles that are
BB
accompanied
guns.
with this. It basically falls under all the same laws that airsoft guns do. So,
Correct.
You can totally own this. This is something that you can buy. Whether or not you'll find a use for it, that's
up to you.
That's you. But other than that, I mean, it's completely legal. All right, so if you're a law enforcement agency or anything like that want to do bulk orders through us, of
course,
feel free to contact us at our sales email at sales@ampedairsoft.com, and we can get you guys some sweet law enforcement discounts and get you guys some training rifles for you to go mess each other up in some CQB buildings with.
And if you need guinea pigs to be shot, we might help you out if you're local.
Buy me lunch, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this has been Anthony.
Matt.
Thanks for stopping by, guys. And if you have any questions about the Umarex T4E training rifle, feel free to drop them down below in the doobly-doo. Like I was saying in the Ask Ant video, there's probably going to be a blooper reel of us just making whiny noises about getting shot with this thing. So keep an eye out for that as well. But anyways, thanks for stopping by. See you guys later.
See you guys.